Bishop Clyde Harvey on Friday gave his first public response to statements made by Pope Francis regarding the legal rights of homosexual persons and the recognition of civil unions between persons of the same sex. Bishop Harvey noted that the statement of the Pope was made in his native language, Spanish, and that the context was a discussion of the legal protection afforded to homosexual persons, not the morality of homosexual acts.
I want first of all to read for you what the Pope actually said. Now bear in mind that this is a documentary in which he is responding to questions. And one of the first things is that this piece about civil unions was taken out of a larger statement about how we as Christians treat homosexual people. And I think it's important to understand that there's a larger context. The Pope is not talking directly about gay sex, as some people like to refer to it. So listen to what he says. Homosexual people have the right to be in a family. They are children of God and have a right to a family. Nobody should be thrown out or be made miserable over it. What we have to have is a civil union law. That way they are legally covered. This statement is in the first place about the rights of gay people under the law. Those rights have to be protected.
The bishop asked Catholics not to be disturbed by the many occasions on which the news, electronic or print, may say things that seem contrary to what they believe. They must learn to wait for matters to be clarified.
In 2014, the Pope had this to say, and he has not retracted it. Pope Francis was asked if the Church could understand the approach of legalizing civil unions. Francis responded by saying, and I quote, "Marriage is between a man and a woman." He drew his usual line distinction between a marriage and a civil union. He explained that states, and in inverted commas, want to justify civil unions to regulate different situations of coexistence. These words are all important. People coexist in different ways, driven by the need to regulate economic aspects between people, such as ensuring health care. These are coexistence agreements of various kinds, of which I cannot list the different forms. And then he says, we need to see the different cases and evaluate them in their variety. Do you, because you have lived with somebody for a long time, and maybe you've lived a totally celibate existence, when you die, does the person's family, a brother, a sister, somebody like that, have a right to come and say, well, I am the next of kin, and therefore I can throw you out of the house? That is what the civil law tries to protect. And the Pope is saying in those cases particularly, the Church says people have a right to protection under the law. First of all, I think Catholics, we have to be so careful about how we take things that are put to us by the media, the secular media. The media is always looking for something big to say. A soundbite is all there is, and I myself have been very concerned about what I say in public, because they can always take just one sentence and run with it to hell and back, you know. And so we as Catholics, the first thing we have to be able to say is, wait a minute, what exactly are we talking about?
Bishop Harvey maintained that the teaching of the Church that marriage is between a man and a woman has not changed. What the Church asks is that we always respect and love homosexuals as human beings, even as we consider certain acts to be unnatural and immoral.
The Pope is not saying yes to homosexual marriage. He's not saying that homosexuals have a right to go before the altar and get married. He's not saying that. The personal morality of whether two people who are gay, how they express their care for each other, that is not where the Pope is going at all. He's not getting into that. But the main thing for us to understand here is that the teaching of the Church has not changed. Francis never intends to change it. He's made that very clear. As Pope, he's about the pastoral approach to people, not about changing doctrine. Right? So marriage is between a man and a woman. Marriage will never be, from a Catholic perspective, between two people of the same sex, the same gender. Right? But the church stands with those who say, regardless of my sexual orientation, my rights under the law must be protected.